In my last video, I talked about the Peggy Nisbet dolls in the historical range. The ones that all the women anyway, had the same faces, a sort of doll type face. This video is all about the portrait series of Henry VIII and his 6 wives. In these dolls, the face was different. It was modelled, apparently, from faces in the National Portrait Gallery. So let's look at the differences in them and how you can identify them. So let's start with our old friend, Katherine of Aragon. Now you remember, if you've seen it, in the earlier video, how Catherine had her dress, but unlike the other dolls, it wasn't split to reveal a beautiful petticoat underneath. Here she is, the historic one, and right next to her is the portrait one. She's got a very different face. She's still got the cross round her neck. She's got brown fur across her sleeves. But again, she's still got that skirt in one piece all the way round, the same pattern. There's something else too. If I show you, it's how the dolls' dresses are made. Here, on this one, you can see there's no seam down the back of the dress. And this is true of all the historic series. They're stitched in. The seam is on each side. However, on this series, there is a back centre seam. And in fact, these dolls are quite easy to undress. You can just snip. They're only stitched at the top and on the neckline and at the waistline. And just snipping those 2 little bits of thread will release the dress, and it can then come off in one piece. But again, as I say, she's got the complete skirt, and although her head is different, her headpiece is different, it's actually really just the same as this big one, but caught up, so that when you look carefully at the front of her head, you can see she's still got the same shape of the gable headdress that she did have prior in the earlier series. So that's Katherine of Aragon, and I think she's fairly easy to spot with that skirt. Another one who is easy to spot is Anne of Cleves. Now you remember in the original version, in the historic version, she was wearing that circular cap. She had the bands of braid on her sleeves. She had the long skirt with braids, and underneath she had her yellow petticoat. Well, in the historic, in the portrait version, and here's 2 of them, this one's got a beautiful face. It's beautifully painted. This one, supposedly the same doll, is far more crude, and the plastic is rather more yellow. But both of them have got a pink dress. Both of them have got the braid down the front, and both of them underneath, if I can find it, and she's got a white petticoat, but I rather think, yeah, they've got white petticoats, so not the yellow anymore. However, if you look at this one, she's also a portrait version of Anne of Cleves. There's her braid on the sleeves, but her dress colour is blue with the yellow underneath. So there are differences, but even with those differences, it's still very easy to see with the braids on the sleeve and down the dress, which is Anne of Cleves. Who shall we look at next? How about Catherine Howard? Now, you remember Catherine in the original version, in the historic version, the ones that have the code starting with H. She was always in dark colours and with a little bit of lace at her neck. Well, that hasn't changed in the portrait version, but actually she's really easy to tell. She's easy to tell because she's still in dark colours. She's still got gold and silver elements in her dress, but she's on a twist. I don't know if I can show you. I'll try. She's got a bend in her leg. It's got a kink to it. And she's got her head slightly turned sideways. She's still wearing her cross. She's still got her headdress on. But she's so distinctive from all the others in the way she stands. The other thing being, with these later dolls too, these portrait dolls, because of the way the dresses are made, they don't have the underskirt separately the way they do in the historic version with the braid down the side, and that braid is important. These are made in one piece, and that's how you can actually have them connected up at the back like that. Now, I've actually had this dress off her because it was very badly stitched on. So all I had to do was unstitch at the neck, unstitch at the waist, and the whole thing just slipped off. I also had to repair her arms that had come apart. So this is one of the pluses with these dolls. So again, I think she's quite easy to see. She has a pomander round her waist. She has a cross round her neck, but invariably she's in a dark colour. And as I say, she's got this twist to her body that's really very attractive and appealing, and I think makes her very easy to spot. Right, so who have we got here? Well, this is Catherine Parr. You can tell by the dark brown fur, and she's still got dark brown fur, but her colour seems to have changed. She's got darker. So we've got this gold dress with, the camera isn't really showing it, but that's quite a bright gold. I'll go in a bit closer, see if I can get it to pick it up. A bright, no it's not, a bright gold dress. It really is quite vibrant, with a bright golden fabric for the rest of her dress. And at the back she has her train, which of course Anne of Cleves doesn't have, and she's got her headdress. So again, she's quite distinct. So she is one that does look different. And the other thing that's different is her label, because she's one of the later ones. So there's her label, there's the P code on it. But if I turn this round, you can see there's no word saying collectors here. And instead of the plain back that the early ones have, there's a copyright notice. So she's a bit later. So we can tell she's probably mid-70s through to 80s, I would guess. Okay. Now, who else have we got? Well, one of the dolls we had earlier was Jane Seymour. And the one thing we know about Jane Seymour, everyone describes her as being very pale in colouring. Really pale. So here is a portrait Jane Seymour. There's the pale colouring with her necklace, and she's got brown velvet round her sleeves, but her dress is very light in colour. It's a very pale blonde. She has the train at the back. You can see where she's had the dress stitched on. which is different, as I say, for these portrait dolls. And underneath she's got her petticoats and a little skirt. So she's very light. Incidentally, the little beads in her crown I've put in. They're just stitched in, so I can easily take them out. But it was starting to flop, and I just wanted something to give it a little bit of strength so that it would stand out a bit more. But here's another portrait of Jane Seymour. This is a very, very beautiful one. She's in a bright, vivid blue, and there's that white fur. And you know, in my earlier video, I did talk about how that white fur tended to be found, in my experience, with one exception, either on one of the first of Henry's wives, one of the first three. So either Katherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, or Jane Seymour. And this one, of course, is Jane Seymour. She has an absolutely magnificent dress with the blue gems on it, with the white fur, and with the blue cap to match on the top. So this is one portrait version, and this is another portrait version. But again, the white fur on this dress, the split skirt with the braiding down the end, is really, really indicative of her. And then with I suspect possibly a later version, I wouldn't like to judge. This one with the later style of dress, with the, I would think, with the complete skirt attached each side, with the stitching at the back, which would make it very easy to undress her. Unlike the very early dresses, as I said earlier, where the dress, let's see if I can find this, is stitched on at the sides. You see it there, where it's stitched on down the sides. Okay, so who does that leave us? Well, of course, it leaves us with Anne Boleyn. So let's have a look at the other version of Anne Boleyn. So here is a historic version, a nice early version. The white fur sleeves, they actually got a little bit grubby, which is why they're not looking as white as they might. And her skirt is absolutely filthy, I can tell you. But I don't want to wash it because I think the colours might run. So what about the portrait version? Well, in this, as you know, Anne Boleyn is very often in blue and very often in a strong blue and red. So here's a portrait one. I don't know quite what's happened with the plastic here. It really looks quite unattractive. And the painting's not very good either. But there we go. She's wearing a necklace. She's got the white fur. She's got the pomander there. And her skirt is all in one. So that's her. But equally, I have another version of her with very, very similar features. And that's this one. Still blue, but very dark. But she's still got those white fur sleeves that I think is so helpful in deciding that she's Anne Boleyn. She's got this unusual necklace, which I haven't seen on any of the others. She's got the complete all-in-one skirt, which in both cases has a gold tint to it. And the dresses, of course, in both, whilst one is dark blue and the other light blue, they are both blue. And she's got the hat at the back, and again, and here you can see how badly she's stitched. It reveals at the back that it's gaping in her skirt, and you can see her petticoat underneath. This is one I will be unpicking and restitching to get it to lie a bit better. So, I hope that helps you with these, but I have a question for you. If they are them, who on earth is this? She has a standard Tudor hat. she has white fur and she has a separate underskirt. But where the others have got separate underskirts, they all have braid down the front. Let me show you. Like this one. And the same with Anne Boleyn. But this lass has no braid down the front. And I think she's actually one of the Scottish ladies, one of the four Marys. And I'll do another video about them very, very soon. And I'll talk a bit more about this lass. So here is another Tudor lady. She's beautifully dressed. She's got an interesting collar. She's wearing a Tudor headdress. She's got light brown hair. Her dress is the most gorgeous gold, with a separate under petticoat, peeping through, of green velvet. And she's got green velvet bordering her arms. At the back, she's stitched at the centre, and she's got a long train. Any ideas who? Well, you tend to find her in green and gold. You tend to find either she's got a green velvet dress with gold underskirt, or vice versa, as in this case. And she's Lady Jane Grey, the 9-day Queen, the one who came after Henry's son, Edward. Her of the tragic reign, only 16 when she was executed. How tragic is that? But as a doll, Peggy Nisbet did an excellent job. So I hope this helps you to decide which are your portrait dolls. So here are the first three wives as portrait dolls. Let's go in. Have a good look. Katherine of Aragon with her complete skirt. No petticoat under showing through. Anne Boleyn in blue with gold accents and white fur sleeves. Oh, Amber Cleves has sneaked in there. We'll skip her for now. Jane Seymour, pale Jane, in gold with brown velvet sleeves, or rich blue with gold braid beside her petticoat. And here we have the last three. Anne of Cleves in blue with stitching of beautiful pearls on her and an elegant cap. And in pink, as she's more usually seen, this vivid pink with the gold braid down her and her gold cap with gems on. And then we've got the very tragic Catherine Howard, who died so young, in her dark dress, with her body turning away slightly. And finally, I think actually a fairly unflattering version of Catherine Parr in gold and brown and gold, with her brown fur sleeves. So I hope this helps you to identify which one you've got of the 6 wives of Henry VIII. And please, please, if you have any more information, please do add it in the comments. Thank you very much.